Solo Leveling was mid, according to Japanese audience. That is a bold statement to make. So, when you click on the article and you go to the headline, it says, no different from any other anime. Solo Leveling producer on Japan's mid-reception to the worldwide phenomenon. When a producer of the series is saying this, I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of crazy. That is actually crazy. But this is not where the story begins and ends. We also got to talk about the situation that the action director, Yoshihiro Kanno, even commented alongside of Atsushi Kaneko about the reception in Japan. So, it's not just the producer that said this, but also the action director alongside, pretty much commenting on it and saying that the overall performance in Japan is pretty mid, or in this case, it's not really doing anything above average. So what's going on here? Because obviously, everyone that's a part of the anime and manga community has probably heard time and time again, especially in these last few months, that Solo Leveling is the most popular anime, at least in 2025, the most watched series on Crunchyroll of all time, and swept the anime awards, and to go even further, is probably one of the most popular anime in the last decade. So when you factor all this in, it's just like, why does Japan not like Solo Leveling? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, but we got to start from the very beginning. And that is the fact that Solo Leveling has content within it that is very anti-Japan. It is. And also getting into a little bit more controversial topic, it is a Korean webcomic, and I'm not going to dive too deep into that one. But the point is that Solo Leveling's writing in general has anti-Japan stuff within it. And obviously that will not sit right with the Japanese audience, and so because of that, it was always going to have an uphill battle to try to win over the Japanese audience to get into Solo Leveling, which is why the global audience is enjoying Solo Leveling more, because obviously it's not really anti-anything else, it's mainly just anti-Japan in some segments of the story. But getting back into the point, when Solo Leveling Season 1 came out, it did not do so well in Japan. For those that are unaware, the actual BD DVD sales in Japan was like below 630 actual sales. That's low. Like, that's really freaking low. I remember making a video talking about it. I remember other people talking about it. Obviously, there's more to success than just BD DVD sales. There's merchandise. There is, streaming. I like streaming, how many people watch on streaming. Obviously, global viewership. There's a lot more that factors into global success. But in general, from the very beginning, Japan has not liked Solo Leveling. It has been very apparent from the very beginning. So the reaction to Solo Leveling Season 2 is not that surprising for those that have been aware of the situation since the very beginning. However, those that dived into Solo Leveling rather recently, or just has been watching the anime and just stays out of community discussion or anything like that, this is going to come as quite the shock for a lot of people, especially with just how much effort was clearly put into Solo Leveling Season 2. So with the foundation of the entire topic laid on the table, let's read this article and get into why Japan thinks Solo Leveling's pretty mid. A producer of Solo Leveling addressed the series' disappointing reception in Japan when compared to its massive international audience. The series recently won Anime of the Year for Crunchyroll 2025 Anime Awards, in addition to numerous other awards. Atsushi Kaneko, the animation producer of Solo Leveling, was interviewed by the Anime Effect podcast through Crunchyroll, alongside action director Yoshihiro Kanno. The interview, which took place at CCXP Mexico 25 at Centro Banamex in Mexico City, Mexico, discussed the production of Solo Leveling Season 2, and when fans can expect an official announcement for Season 3. However, the most fascinating aspect of the interview was the anime staff's reaction to the series' incredible global impact when compared to the above average response from Japan. That's a big significant one, above average. We'll talk about more of that in a second. But Solo Leveling's massive international success hasn't translated domestically in Japan. The way the Solo Leveling anime was received in Japan was no different from any other anime, Kaneko said. So when we learned how the series exceptionally blew up in popularity for our global Solo Leveling fans, honestly speaking, this difference in reaction was very unexpected. It's not exactly a temporary hype, but I do wonder who reacts more to the episodes first between the Japanese and global fans. Although Solo Leveling's anime adaptation has unmistakably elevated the South Korean webcomic into a gigantic global franchise, its domestic reception in Japan hasn't been able to match up. In April 2024, the Japanese home media sales for Solo Leveling was revealed Season 1 Blu-ray sales for the worldwide phenomenon were too low to be published. However, based on the lowest performer on the list, it's estimated that Solo Leveling sales were lower than 634 units during its first week. In contrast, Girls and Panzer sold for 2,614 copies during the week of March 25th to March 31st, 2024. So this is that's insane. Like that's actually an insane difference of copies sold. 32,600 or lower than 630. So, it's very clear, as I said at the beginning of the video, Solo Leveling has never done pretty good domestically in Japan. I mean, there's a bunch of articles and stuff that's talked about this over the years when this came out, but the point of the matter is that, from the very beginning, it's been a tough sell on Japan. And Solo Leveling has never been a series that's been marketed towards Japan. It's more or less a series marketed towards the West, and it clearly shows that, especially with just the overall global phenomenon that Solo Leveling has become as of late. As we continue down, there's a little bit more to the article. Despite the series' lukewarm reception at home, the Solo Leveling anime TV series continues to expand its international reach, especially with fans in North America. Solo Leveling's impressive winning streak at the 2025 Anime Awards, as voted by fans, is a prime example of the series' strong engagement with international fans. Recently, it was also revealed that Solo Leveling has become the most viewed anime on Crunchyroll, already talked about that, as of March 2025. Solo Leveling is available, yada yada yada. Okay, it just talks about the synopsis. So, let's get back into the meat and potatoes of this discussion. So more or less, the producer and the action director commented on Solo Leveling in Japan in domestic reception, and it's basically performing just like any typical anime would. And so that's why they're more or less shocked. It's like, why are people reacting in such a way when Solo Leveling is more or less just your run-of-the-mill anime that we produce? And I think more or less this is corpo speak, but also I think in general, it's very clear that they have never tried to push it domestically in Japan. I could be wrong there, because I don't live in Japan, but it's always been a market push towards the West. It's very obvious with how much Crunchyroll has pushed it and, you know, kind of funded the project as well. So yeah, I mean, in general, like I said, I'm not too shocked, but at the same time, here it is. So yeah, Japan doesn't like Solo Leveling, or at the very least, they don't care too much about it. They don't get it. They don't get it. They don't care too much about it. They probably think it's just like, why is this so hype? They probably think we're weirdos for that. But yeah, I'll leave it at that though. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I love you guys. Be safe. Stay healthy. Chibi out.